Hey there, welcome back to GunTalk with Halogenic Man. I'm going to invest another box of ammunition toward my ongoing journal of my, hopefully, self-improvement with my pistol use. And when I say invest, I mean it costs from $20 to $25 for a box of ammo now, and that is an investment. In truth, the more you shoot, the more comfortable you become. It's an important investment. However, being as the way things are with ammunition and shortages nowadays, I'm going to kind of budget out my ammo into very specific things. I'm going to cover 4 topics today. I'm going to try to improve my stance. I'm going to work toward the beginnings of using a double tap. I'm going to just get used to the concept of something called a tactical reload. And then finally, I'm going to work on something known as the Mozambique drill, or the failure to stop drill, or the failure drill. That ultimately is a triple tap. It's known as a triple tap also. So, to begin with, we have targets set up that have, this time, have a center of mass target and a head target. That's getting to be a little more realistic. The distance that we're set up at the moment is 5 yards. Not trying to work on marksmanship, just trying to work on technique or procedure. So, basically, we are set. I have my Glock 22 today, and I have 2 15-round magazines, but I only have 5 rounds in each at the moment. I'm ultimately wearing my overgarments as I naturally would, and the reason for that is you should always practice being able to clear your garments when you're drawing. If you practice with your holster and your gun right out in the open, or just holding it in your hand and not coming out of the holster, you're not getting a lot of practical experience. Since we're spending the money on the ammo anyway, we might as well get as much practice for as many things as possible. Okay, well, to start with, I'm going to try to improve my stance. I was looking at the video from my first GunTalk video, and I noticed that the recoil was actually pushing me back during each shot. Then I had to kind of reset for the next shot. I weigh 250 pounds. There's no way that a little .40 caliber bullet should be pushing me that hard. So I'm going to do some things a little differently. First off, I'm going to demonstrate the way I fired last time. Hopefully I'll get a comparison. When I fired last time, I was standing, I had my feet properly done, and I took my shots. But you see how forward or upright my shoulders are? And it pushed me this way. I'm going to be leaning into it this time, and it should put that pressure into my spine and my column of muscle in my back. So let me just basically go ahead and take the first 5 shots the way I did, and then take the second 5 shots and see if there's a difference. I'm also going to take the first 5 shots on the left target and the second 5 shots on the right target, just from my personal understanding, to see if there's a difference in accuracy as well. There's one more thing I'm going to do. When it comes to recoil, if you have your elbows down, they hinge and they let you do this. I'm going to try to roll this elbow up as a technique, and that should prevent some recoil as well. Hopefully improve my accuracy. So, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've tried to arrange it so that my holster is in the viewfinder this time. I want to have you see how I clear and how I grab. So that'll actually be part of what I do. Get clothing the way I normally would be walking around. So, clear, grab, my finger is off the trigger at all times. Bring up. Now I'm a person, as I've said before, I don't have the magazine in for safety purposes. I'm going to just go ahead and square up, take my shots. And I'm going to switch. One of the things I'm actively doing is keeping my eye downrange and on the target. I should be able to manipulate without that. Okay, so now I'm going to go forward. I'm going to roll my elbow and see if it's a difference. I'd say there was a difference. Let's go out to the targets. The target on the left, if you zoom into that one, was with my original stance. I'll look at the video later to see how far it pushed me back or anything like that. And you can probably see out of the 5 shots there's 3 on paper. And the target on the right, if you look at it, there's 1, 2, 3 basically into the same hole, and a 4th one a little up to the right, and it's a very small group. And to be honest, I would predict that actually the 5th went through the same hole. From this distance, when I'm looking at it, I see the 3 distinct corners of the triangle. But basically, I went from a pattern that was bigger than paper to a pattern that was basically under 2 inches, and that was just with a subtle difference in leaning forward and pushing my elbow, turning my elbow up. Alright, go ahead and zoom out and come on back this way a little bit. So I'm pleased. Here's the thing. I've started off with a mantra of strive for improvement, not perfection. And my whole concept is to try to get improvement. I'm so very pleased with that. Last time I started out, I was extremely disappointed. If I can continue with that same accuracy as this goes on, with that little bit of a difference, it's going to be absolutely something that I'm very pleased with. I'm going to load up again with another 5 rounds in each clip. The next section of this is going to be working on something known as a double tap. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert in anything. This is basically a journal of my self-improvement, and by that very nature means that I'm not good, I'm improving. So with the concept of working on a double tap, I've watched the videos, I've seen the things, the most important concepts I have. The big thing about it is it's not a matter of just pulling the trigger as quickly as you can 2 times. You take a shot when your sights are on target. The sights are going to pop back onto target again, and the trick is to pull the trigger when they go back on the target. You're going to see that my double taps are not going to be known as very fast. The whole concept is I'm going to be taking the double tap as quickly as I'm able to regain the sight picture. There's actually 2 approaches. One is to gain the sight picture and gain the sight picture again for your double tap. The other approach is to gain your sight picture and basically know the rhythm of your gun, so when it falls back in, you pull the second time without really acquiring the sight picture. I'm going to go for the sight picture for both times. As time goes by, I'll try a couple different approaches. But for today, I'm going to do slow double taps, or reasonably slow, and that basically is going to be the next part of this. So, I'm going to use my improved stance, and I'm also going to do a double tap. Now, of those targets you saw out there, the bottom represents the center of mass, the upper represents the head. So I'm going to be doing these all towards center of mass. They always say in a stress situation, you're only about 60–80% as good as you are when you're relaxed. So that means when you're in a stress situation, if you really did need self-defense situation, you should be going for the bigger target you can. As we progress during this video, we'll go on to changing what I just said a little bit. But for now, the concept is aim toward the biggest target. So I'm going to basically do a slow motion double tap. Clear my clothing, get a good grip onto the web of my thumb and forefinger onto the grip, keep my finger out of the trigger, and come up. I'm going to clear a magazine, rack, and I'm going to force myself to use my new stance, leaning forward, elbow out. So, double tap. There we go again. And that's 5. Now, take note that I have the gun in a situation where the slide is locked back. I'm taking out my magazine. I'm going to get a fresh magazine. And when I put the fresh magazine in, I have to release the slide. That's extra motion. In the next segment of this, we'll go on to something known as tactical reloading, where you try to avoid that scenario. Let me continue. So, the trick is I should be able to increase my speed. And that's the 5. I'm pleased to see, go ahead and have a look at the left target. That left target is basically double tapping reasonably fast, and I'm not getting an absolute perfect sight picture. And I'm staying within the center ring on all my shots. So we have the progressive improvement, we have the improvement in my stance, using a double tap, and staying basically within that center ring. I'm going to load up another 5. Go ahead and come on back around here. Continue loading up. I haven't done the math at the moment, but every time we pull this trigger, we're throwing change downrange. Now, the thing is from my last video, I mentioned that I was surprised at how much better I am with the 22, and that didn't translate over to this. But with the 22, I've probably thrown 1,000 rounds downrange, and that didn't cost so much, because, in fact, that probably cost as much as 1 or 1.5 of these boxes, and that gives you the ability to improve. I am going to be frugal in how often I bring my Glock 22 to the range, and I'm going to try to get as much improvement as possible out of every round. In fact, the next time I come to the range, I probably won't come with the Glock 22 until after I have the ported barrel that I'm expecting for my birthday. That ported barrel, I'm hoping, will also have an effect on my accuracy. So, if you ever notice I do this, I basically have the magazine in the position it's going to be for going in, so that, and I put it into my magazine pouch, it's in a retrievable fashion that'll be automatic for that. Alright, so the tally is, we've done an improved stance, had a big effect, and use the improved stance with a double tap, which is by its very nature a more rushed situation, but still maintained enough accuracy to stay on paper. What I'm going to do now is, in fact, I'll walk through the concept. With a tactical reload, you saw how when the last round fires and the magazine is empty, slide locks back, it waits for you to do what you're going to do. And then you have to release the slide. So, if I'm going to do a tactical reload, I'm going to fire all but the last shot, or you can even have more left in the magazine if you take it out. But you don't want to fire your last shot. And with the round still in the chamber, you release your magazine, put a fresh magazine in, and you never go through the scenario of not having a round available and having to release your slide. So, at this point, I'm going to use the improved stance, do the double taps, and do the tactical fire, or tactical reload. So with 5 in here, I know I have 4 shots. I need to change clips, and then I'll have 6 shots after that, a total of 10 for the whole 2 clips, magazines. So, here we go. Rack a load. I still have a round in the chamber. I'm not having to mess with the slide release, and I'll continue. Oh, I need to work on my stance while I'm at it too. There we go. That is my first attempt at a tactical reload, and as it found out, I miscounted. For the reload portion, I did well, but at the end I actually had 2 rounds left, 1 in the chamber, 1 in the clip. And it goes back to a couple of things. One is the reason I pulled the slide back wasn't just to pull it back, it was to make sure that I was safe at that point. And that basically probably just saved me from shooting myself trying to reholster or something like that. That is a good example of some of the things I covered in the first video still holding true. Always make sure you're clear for safety. So, I'm going to move on to the next thing. I'm just going to set that round aside because I'm keeping the count here. There is something known as the Mozambique drill. It's named for where it originated. If you've ever heard of or seen a situation where there's a double tap to center of mass and then an aim shot to the head, that came from a person, I'm looking at my notes, a person named Mike Rousseau, who was a mercenary, and he was in the Mozambican War for Independence. In that, he actually came upon one of the enemy, we'll call him that, and gave him 2 shots to center of mass, 1 in each lung. And the guy didn't stop. So Mike Rousseau took the kind of a mental step back and then took a single shot to the head, which ultimately got the guy, cut his spine and killed him. So he went on to relay this information to a gentleman named Jeff Cooper. And Jeff Cooper is renowned for his founding experiences with in the gun world. Well, Jeff Cooper took that information and kind of developed it into something that he referred to as the triple tap maneuver. So 2 to center mass, 1 to the head became kind of a standard, and it's called by several things. The triple tap maneuver is a simple way to describe it. So we've done a double tap. A triple tap is a double tap to center of mass and then a single, better aimed shot to the head. It's also known as the Mozambique drill, named for the war that it was from. It's also known as a failure to stop drill or a failure drill. And the reason they call it that is you take 2 shots center of mass and they don't stop. They fail to stop the person. Then you go back and you continue. In practicality, it should be practiced as basically a triple tap. You don't really stop an awful long time to wait to see if they stop. The old Hollywood concept of wounding a person and stuff like that isn't as practical as it sounds. In reality, if you actually go for a kill shot, there's a good chance they're not going to stop, and they may be dying, but while they're dying, they kill you in the meantime. So your objective is to actually stop them. So in this, I'm going to combine as much as I can into this. So, and you saw during the last time, I actually kind of faltered back on my improvement on my stance. So I'm going to try to keep my improved stance. I'm going to try to work on my double tap, which is part of the Mozambique drill. I'm going to try to use my tactical reload. Now this time I have 10 shots in the magazine. So I'm going to do 3 triples, switch my magazine out before I'm empty, and then I'm going to go again. And as a learning experience, again, striving toward improvement, with my second magazine, I don't have any more to reload. I'm just going to keep going till I run out. I'm not going to count as though I think I know I'm done. So, again, none of this is going to be in super fast motion because I am ultimately learning. However, for this, I am going to be going back and forth on the triples. I may do is switch back and forth as though there's a couple of people. I think I'm just going to stay on the one target at this point in time. So, nothing in fast motion. I'm going to clear my clothing, get my webbing in, finger off the trigger, and pull out, grab my magazine, rack it around, and I'm going to do 3 triple taps. Okay, in slow motion, I'm going to get my stance forward, roll my elbow up. I still have a round in the chamber. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm loading the round back up, or the magazine back up, and going for the triple taps until I'm done. And I'm empty. I'm going to drop my magazine. If I did have more magazines at this point, I would put them in and release my slide. Since I don't, I'm going to release my slide, make sure I'm clear, and again, just covering old information. Clear the holster. We know that this is empty. I'm going to have my thumb on the back of the slide, and I'm going to have my finger clear of the trigger and push in. And that should be very consistent. Again, I'm trying to get as much as possible out of this ammo, as much mileage as possible out of the ammo. So everything that I should be doing, I'm going to try to keep doing, because I could just have the magazine sit out here, but I wouldn't have the experience of pulling my shirt looking for them. I could have the gun in my hand. I wouldn't have the continued experience of grabbing it from the holster, clearing my garment, and grabbing it from the holster, and then reholstering. So, just working toward finishing up. You could always do a double tap to center of mass and also do a double tap to the head, but the emphasis is there should be some more concerted aim involved in the headshot. This is considered a close combat drill, as in if they're close enough to you that you're in more danger than you would be, you want to stop them. I was reading a very good article, and I can't remember the gentleman's name right now, and I have it at home, and my next video is probably going to be on some of his technique. But he talks about an immediate stop, 4 different ones. One where you immediately stop the person, one where they stop in about 10 or so seconds, then there's more extended, up to 300 seconds, and then you have ones that they're walking around, they're fine, they're going to live and not be a problem. Well, if someone has a gun in their hand shooting at you, and they have 10 or 30 or 300 seconds left to live, they're going to die anyway. In the meantime, they can kill you. This approach is an approach that should be practiced in order to improve your survivability in a situation. Part of this gun talk, we need to address the fact that no one's looking for a gunfight, and you never go looking for a gunfight, and you don't want a gunfight. This is all aimed at self-preservation if you were to need it. You wear a seatbelt when you're driving your vehicle. No one goes looking for a car crash. You wear the seatbelt in case you do. It's the same exact scenario with self-defense and carry, be it open carry or concealed carry. Along the same lines, open carry to some extent is looking for a gunfight. Because if somebody does come in, the bad guy comes in, they're going to see you, you're going to be one of their first targets. Concealed carry is the same amount of preparation, but with the concept that you won't be their first target. In general, I am so very pleased with today's improvements. The improved stance made an absolute difference in my group size. The double tap, I have to be honest, I didn't have my sights absolutely perfect with second shot, but with the improved stance, I see that it is definitely acceptable as far as my grouping size, even with what for me is a rush double tap sight acquisition. The tactical reload, you saw that I was good about keeping track of my account, reloading, and then I presumed that I was done, and it turned out I wasn't. That brought us back to the reason every single time you presume a gun is loaded, even when you think it isn't. And I presumed it was loaded, and I checked, and I found a round in the chamber. And that's what safety is about, and that's why it has to be your first thing. It's why it was in the first GunTalk video. And the Mozambique drill. I'd always known about 2 to the center of mass and 1 to the head. I didn't know it was called the Mozambique drill, or the failure to stop drill, or the failure drill, or the triple tap until I did a little research online and found out what it was. It is something that, unless you practice it, unless you do that as a consistent part of what you're doing, you're probably not going to do it in a rushed, urgent situation. So I actually believe that, for the most part, my target shooting from now on, even with the 22, is going to involve 2 targets, and it's going to involve the Mozambique drill. So even though I'm going for accuracy, I'm going to be doing the muscle memory training to have it so that my body knows when I finish that double tap, move up for the single shot, or this double tap at the top as well. Other than that, I am pleased to be bringing you this video, and I'm pleased that I am realizing some improvement. That wasn't a guarantee, but same as you're researching when you look at this, I'm continuing to research and get input from other people, and it's that shared wealth of knowledge that makes a difference. Hey, I'll talk to you later. Bye.